John, thank you for taking time to come down and visit with me tonight about this. We've been in a position ever since November with the voters and our readership of they want to know more. And we just ran out of time. Yeah.
That is an understatement.
Yeah.
That was a packed house, and it was an outstanding forum. There were a lot of very good speakers there, but you're correct. We flat ran out of time.
So what we did a couple of weeks ago, we posed a question to our readership. Hey, do you want to know more? What do you want to know more? And the emails started flooding in. So what we did, we took a sampling of these questions, and that's why we're here, to do a Q&A interview. And if you're ready, let's dive in.
I appreciate the invitation. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Do you know who you will appoint as your chief deputy, and what qualifications or leadership traits are you looking for in that role?
I actually do not. And I say that because I want my chief deputy to have an absolute intimate knowledge of the detention facility. That in and of itself is the single most liability a sheriff's department has. And if you don't have somebody that is knowledgeable, capable, willing to do it, that's what I'm looking for. And that's not an easy find.
Okay. What do you believe is the single most important responsibility of the sheriff?
It's being responsible in many aspects. One, financially to the citizens. Two, transparency to the citizens. Three, answering to the citizens, understanding the citizens. The sheriff's position is to represent the citizens, to be the person that is willing to answer the tough questions. You know, everything is not always just bright and shiny and glorious. There's times that, you know what, mistakes are made, things happen, we're human. The question is, and the question I think a lot of people need to ask, in those positions, what have you done to fix it? And what is your commitment to not allowing that to happen again?
Okay.
And that, to me, that's very important. And I believe it's also very important to the citizens.
Okay. Do you support the state moving forward with the proposed Franklin County Prison at its current location? Why or why not? And if you oppose it, will you advocate publicly and within the Sheriff's Association for changes?
I absolutely support the need for a prison, without question. As far as its location, I have no say in that. Now, as far as assisting other sheriffs with endeavors in the Sheriff's Association, I will support the association, without question. But there's something that people need to understand when you talk about a prison. You know, when this was first being sold, it's to help save taxpayers' money for transports. It was to help the families to where maybe they wouldn't have to drive quite so far to go see a loved one. That's all well and good, but if the prison is not done right, in my opinion now, it's strictly my opinion, to where there's an intake and diagnostic unit, you're not saving Sebastian County, Crawford County, Franklin County, Benton County, pick one, in Northwest Arkansas. You're not saving anybody any money, because we're still going to have to take all of our inmates to Malvern, Arkansas. And then they're going to ship them from Malvern to wherever the facility is throughout the state. And if they truly were wanting to try and help save the taxpayers, put that kind of unit here. Northwest Arkansas is growing in leaps and bounds. And I mean, I've heard projections of populations just astronomical before, like in the next 10 or 15 years.
Right.
And yes, we need a prison up here. As far as where it goes, I don't really have a say in that. I do understand nobody would want one in their back door.
Right.
That I do understand that. But one thing that I think we need probably a little worse than prisons is more beds for mental health patients in jail. But that's a whole nother topic.
Sure.
We could be here.
Right.
We could be here for hours if
Right.
you get me on a roll.
Good deal. So Have you ever been the subject of an internal investigation? If so, please explain the circumstances and the outcome.
Okay. In I believe it was May of 2021, I was involved in an incident where I was drinking way more than I should. I used alcohol to numb things instead of face things. Didn't deal with stuff right. And I had a couple of interactions with law enforcement, and they did let me go. They should not have. They made a decision. It was 110% my fault. I am the one that put them in those positions, and I'm truly sorry. I have apologized to most of them. I've tried to apologize to a couple more, but it hasn't. I want to have that conversation where neither one of us are working.
Sure.
But getting back to that, so yeah, that happened. Then I got called in for an internal, and the chief that was investigating me, he asked me, he said, "What happened?" And I told him. I said, "Chief, I sincerely wish I could sit here and look you in the eye and tell you without question that yes, they're telling you the truth, or no, they're lying." I said, "I can't." And I asked for help. And I was allowed to get help. I spent a week in the hospital, still paying that bill. Spent 5 weeks in Florida in a rehab specifically for first responders and military. And I would highly recommend that before somebody gets in a situation like I was in, ask for help, accept the help. You're only hurting yourself. Right. And by going through this program, I learned how to deal with things instead of keeping things balled up or trying to take care of everything myself because I was Superman in my mind.
Right.
I learned how to deal with those things. And I did complete the program. And I absolutely would recommend that program to anybody with issues. And I know that a lot of people don't totally believe this thing I'm fixing to tell you, but I don't care. If me going through that and saying that to somebody saves one other person from dealing with that, it was well worth it. And I would do it again.
Good deal.
It's like I said, it's called Shatterproof. It's in Deerfield Park, Florida. And they have a specific program, and it works.
Good deal. Good deal. What population-specific training do you have in interacting with individuals with dementia, Alzheimer's, sundowners, or other special needs, particularly regarding de-escalation techniques?
Okay. I have been through crisis intervention training, but most of mine is from hands-on experience. You know, working in a jail, you deal with a lot of people that are dealing with mental crisis. You deal with a lot of people that are developmentally disabled. You deal with a lot of different attitudes, a lot of different personas of people. I'm this, I'm that. And you learn how to deal with people. You learn how to communicate. You learn how to read body language. It's invaluable. And de-escalation is important. I was actually talking to somebody, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and we had an inmate in jail that was having a moment, and I opened the door to check on him, and he attacked me. He wasn't a threat to me. He was in a uncomfortable environment, and that is how he lashes out. He didn't get pepper sprayed. He didn't get hit. He didn't get punched. We did not do anything to him other than restrain him. And, you know, you have to understand that a lot of these people that are in these crises, they don't know what they're doing. So that's where us in law enforcement, we have to take that initiative. we have to take that responsibility to our citizens, to our inmates, to our staff. And when there's an issue, we try to fix it. We try to work something out. We try to do the best we can with what we have to work with.
And that's where training comes in.
Yes, training is very important. It's you'll never get enough of it.
Right.
And I've always said the day that I think I know everything, I'm hanging up my 5-star and 6 gun and going to the house.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna no. If you think you know everything, the only person you're fooling is yourself.
Yeah, you're right. So there have been, excuse me, there have been past allegations regarding an off-duty incident involving alcohol and a conflict with another officer. Can you address those claims directly and provide your perspective on what happened?
I think we already touched on that, but I do know that there's been a lot of misconceptions as far as it was a cover-up or I wasn't punished. Well, let me elaborate. I was number 3 in charge of the sheriff's department. I did get in trouble. I did request a demotion. I went from number 3 in command of the 5th largest sheriff's department in the state of Arkansas to a new boot deputy. Took a substantial pay cut. But I did it. I swallowed my pride. And by doing that, that showed my character. It showed my transparency. It showed my acceptance and responsibility. And it's interpretation. And I am not proud of that. But like I said, by me doing that, if that, even as bad as that incident could have been, and thank the dear Lord above, it wasn't. But as bad as that could have been, if that will keep one person from dealing with the same thing, it was absolutely worth it.
Good job. What steps would you take to ensure inmate health, safety, and proper supervision to prevent incidents such as the inmate death in 2021 from happening again in the future?
Would you repeat that question?
Absolutely.
You lost me on the very first part.
Absolutely. What steps would you take to ensure inmate health, safety, and proper supervision to prevent incidents such as the inmate death of 2021 from happening again in the future?
Okay. You lost when you first said health. That's not what I thought you said, and that's what I want to make sure. I'm getting old. I need hearing aids.
I understand.
Let's be honest
We're
here.
there, man.
Yeah, we're there.
Yeah.
That incident, let me back up. You will never, ever stop all the deaths in the jail. Let's be honest. It is a populace that most of them do not take care of themselves on the outside. They do not take their medication on the outside. And we're constantly dealing with people that refuse medications, whether it's standard medical or mental health.
Right.
So as far as deaths go, now the particular death that this is referring to, I actually read one report where it stated that the inmate was ignored to death. That's hard to imagine. I worked in the jail from 2011 to 2018, and then went back to the jail in September of 24. So I've been there twice. When I left in 18, we had policies and procedures, it's called the Administrative Segregation Review, okay, that were in place to mitigate issues, to do what you could to make sure that something like that did not happen. And quite frankly, they were ignored. The excuse was COVID. Well, I'm sorry, you work in a jail. There are germs everywhere. During COVID, let's be honest, you had cops working, you had nurses, doctors, school teachers. Pick a profession. Be careful, try to be cautious, yes, but do not do your job. I'll never buy that.
Gotcha. When you returned to oversee jail operations, you stated there were urgent issues to address. What were those issues, and what specific improvements did you implement?
Well, when I first went back, the very first thing that me and my lieutenant did was do a complete and total walkthrough of the facility. The very first thing we found were 68 doors in 3 different pods that you could not secure. You couldn't lock the inmates out. You couldn't lock the inmates in. There was multiple issues with inventory, from key inventory, tool inventories, duress alarms, non-working. We're currently, right now, in the middle of doing a complete and total kitchen remodel. And of course, all this costs money. Well, I started making these lists, and I went to the sheriff and I said, I need to go to the county judge's office. I said, here's what I want to do. He said, okay. So I went over there and we got to talking, and so long story short, they ended up allocating several $100,000 to try to do some of these renovations and fixes. There was one fix that they were trying to do when I first got back over there in 24 that was absolutely wrong. One of the things that people have to understand about a detention facility is, as the sheriff, as the jail administrator, we are the keeper of the keys. When I take your civil liberties away from you, who's liable for you? I am.
Absolutely.
Okay? So that includes protecting you from other inmates and from yourself. Now, if I can't lock doors, or in this particular instance, they were trying to put a cover over a track on one of the slider doors. The issue was they were going to use a 4-inch by 1-inch piece of straight steel and try to cover one little portion of it. You can't do that. I have to protect you from you. Well, if I take a 3/4 inch, I believe it was, by 1-inch piece of steel, and it's open on both sides, it's just welded on the ends, what have I just given you? An anchor point.
Absolutely.
To kill yourself with.
Yes.
So I got a hold of the contractor, said, nope, we're not doing this. He said, I'm going to need authorization. I was like, no problem. Give me 20 minutes.
Right.
And we got it taken care of. And they went through and put the kind of like a blocking bar, but it's a sheet. It's about 6 inches that runs from one end to the other, that now the corners are rounded and you can't get anything up in there.
Right.
So, I mean, when you're dealing in a jail environment, you've got to take everything into account. And that's your responsibility as the jail administrator. That's your responsibility in administration in a jail, as a supervisor, as a deputy in a jail. And it's ultimately the responsibility of the sheriff.
Gotcha. And that's something somebody like me wouldn't even know.
Wouldn't
even take into consideration.
You're 100% correct. And the thing is, people have no understanding of a sheriff's department, of a jail, until you've worked there.
Yeah.
Because all they see is what they see on television. They don't see the boots on the ground that are doing the day-to-day operations and getting spit on and urinated on, and when they mix fecal matter with urine, they call it gassing. They have no idea. And you know, these guys go to work every day and deal with this for 12-hour shifts. And people truly cannot understand until you've been in that environment.
I can't imagine.
It's not a friendly place.
Yeah.
Okay, then you've got what's called classification. It's you take the inmate based off aggravating, mitigating circumstances, criminal history, charges, different things, and that's how you classify them. The thing is, in our jail, and I've said this before and I have no problem saying it again, there's about 80% of them that are in our jail that honestly just did something stupid and got caught. They're not necessarily bad people. They just made a mistake.
Sure.
You've got about 5 or 10%, in my personal opinion, should never see the light of day again, because they are true, violent people, criminals. They are legitimate, violent, dangerous people. And that's not just the murderers. And then your other 10 to 15%, depending on which direction you lean, they are your convicts. They're the ones that's their life. That's all they've known. They are more comfortable in an incarcerated lifestyle than they are free to their own wants, needs, and desires on the street. And for a lot of people, that's hard to understand, and it's hard for me to understand.
Yeah.
But I've never been them, and I
Right.
don't judge them at all. It's just it's a whole different environment, and those guys, they come in every day, strap their boots up, and get to work.
Wow.
They are, without question, the unsung heroes of any sheriff's department.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'd say so. Good, that's good stuff. So voters expect strong judgment and accountability from law enforcement leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Why should voters trust you to represent and protect this county moving forward?
You know, throughout this campaign, I've been very transparent about my incident when I was absolutely wrong. I was. And, you know, part of that being transparent is accepting responsibilities for your actions or lack thereof. And I did. I took the pay cut. I went back to being a new deputy who people I supervised are now my supervisors. But I did it. And you know what? I have no problem being transparent to the citizens, to the public. I have no problem whatsoever answering to them. But there's always two sides to every story. You know, when you first get into law enforcement, one of the things that they'll tell you, whether it's investigations or patrolmen just working a battery case or whatever, is that, you know, you're going to get two stories. Generally, the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Well, there's times that we don't always have all the information. So if we say, well, we don't know, we're being honest. That's transparent. It's not trying to avoid a question or avoid a topic or deflect. It's, if I can't tell you for certain, why would I sit here and make something up? That's wrong. That's
Sure.
not transparent. So yes, absolutely. And I have no problem doing that.
Good job. So this is it's a two-part question.
Oh, boy.
Quite lengthy. So if we'll take it in chunks if you need me to repeat it. So it says, why is Sebastian County one of the lowest paying law enforcement agencies in the area since it is one of the most populated? And then how would you go about changing that rather than losing officers to surrounding agencies?
Okay. The first thing that you have to understand when it comes to the finances of the sheriff's department is we are given a budget. We are given that by the quorum court. The quorum court is the keeper of the purse strings. We absolutely have and will continue to fight for raises to try to get everything we can for our guys, because I'm sorry, they deserve it. But to think that as the sheriff, I have the final ultimate say in pay raises, no, absolutely, I don't. That's how it is. That's county government. But to the second part of that question, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. We need to do a whole lot more than we are, but you start taking into account tax base, you start taking into account we're the sheriff's department. Okay, you still got EMS, you still got county road department, and those guys do awesome. County road department, I mean, seriously, shout out to them with this weather we had here not too long ago.
Absolutely,
Yeah, no
yes.
question. They did amazing. EMS never quit. My guys never quit. And luckily, we only lost one police car, and it was to two deer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. One car, two deer. I haven't heard that one before, but yeah, that actually happened. But and a lot of that is being fiscally responsible to the taxpayers. It's, you know, if we can do this but not do that, maybe do this next year, whatever. That's also very imperative. You've got to be financially responsible to the county, and the county is the taxpayers.
Well said. So, John, again, I thank you for your time to do this.
I appreciate this. This was fun.
Right. Our readership, when we announced this, again, our emails it come through a contact us page on our website, and we were literally watching them just pop in. That's how much interest there is in this.
Those were good questions.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I had to put the thinking cap on a couple of them, and I love that as a challenge. I really do.
Right. So before we end, is there anything you'd like the voters of Sebastian County to know?
I would like for you to know that if elected, I will be a sheriff for the people. I have no problem with transparency. I have no problem with accountability. And I love working for this community, and I want to continue working. I want to thank you for watching this. I did not put a timer on it. I don't know how long it is, but I do appreciate your time and your patience, and please go vote. Early voting starts February 17th. Election day is March 3rd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yep.